Hi, good morning. You're listening to iAntique with Bruce, and I'm Bruce Limecooler. Last week, we were talking about being an excellent mall dealer and a customer. Today, we're going to be talking about the questions and answers that you want to know. Don't forget, we're brought to you by the Brass Armadillo Antique Mall and our sister networking site of iAntique.com. It's your home of antique and collectible social networking. And if you have any questions or comments before, during, or after the show, please feel free to go to iAntique.com and click on the Ask Bruce button. There you'll be able to send us those thoughts. But I want to remind you, coming up in a few short weeks, the Brass Armadillo is going to be hosting another. It's a bi-monthly free appraisal seminar. It's on January 24th. And anybody can bring in up to 2 items and have them appraised, wait for it, for free. Today, our topic is the questions and answers that you want to know. My guest today, well, let's just say it's just me. I'm the general manager at the Brass Armadillo, and I have spent many hours learning several different aspects of the antique and collectible business. And I'd like to share with you some of the questions that folks have sent to me to try to find out what they have interest in. And I get hundreds of questions on iAntique. Some people follow me on Facebook and send me questions at Kansas City Brass Armadillo or at my personal one, which is Bruce Limecooler. Or they might just stop in the store and ask them. But let's get started with one of the first questions. The first question comes from John in Liberty, Missouri. And he says, hey, I have 2 unique style lamps. They kind of look like torches. They're between 5 and 6 feet tall, and they appear to be made of metal. What do you think they are, and why are they so unique? Well, I communicated back and forth with John a little bit, and John sent me a photo, and come to find out that they're what they call a torchiere or a torchier lamp, and in his particular case, because his great-grandparents had a funeral parlor, we were able to surmise that these actually came from that funeral parlor because of some photographs that he'd had and shown where they had them in the funeral parlor. And he has the more unique ones. Torchiere lamps are very common these days in a new style. You know, they make them brand new, but these happen to be from probably mid to late 1800s. And they were created originally for funeral parlors during that time frame as a backlight system for use in and around during the service or viewing. And the early ones were pretty much all made of bronze or brass or had a marble base. And in his particular instance, I really believe that those are worth between $5,000 and $10,000 because they don't appear to be brass, so they appear to be bronze. And the early ones, if kept in good form, can be quite valuable. And, like I said, even today, the older ones are still very functional because electrical companies have transformed a way to turn the mogul base into something that they can use a standard light bulb in. And so he was really happy to hear that they could have a value of about that amount. But also John wanted to know, because I told him in our conversation that really what they're construed as is a post-mortem collectible. And he asked me after that, he says, well, Bruce, what are post-mortem collectibles? Well, I told him I'm going to have a whole show that I'm actually going to put together for this coming up in the future. But basically, post-mortem collectibles are anything from photographs. And you have to realize that in early times, they didn't always have a camera available. So quite often, maybe the only photo they ever had of somebody was when they passed. And so those photos are very collectible, very valuable. Things like hair art, everything, that was used in a funeral home, flowers, photos of the flowers, the equipment, and things like mourning jewelry. Very, very collectible, can have a very good value. And in that particular instance, he was very happy. John was very happy to find out that they could be worth between $5,000 and $10,000. Obviously, newer ones don't hold that kind of value. But in that particular instance, especially being that they were probably constructed of bronze with some marble on the base, makes them have a great value. But I have another question. Joyce in Kansas City, Kansas. She said, Bruce, in your opinion, just what are the best types of collectibles? Well, I'd say all things are different to all people. You know, unique items, the strange, the unusual will always be more sought after. And, you know, you need to sell your items by, you got to understand, she was asking me about how can I sell these items and what do I do? I said, you know, you got to be descriptive. Give them as much information as possible with that item, and that's going to better help to sell it. But really, all things have a collectability to somebody. You know, today, in today's market, repurposing, it's hot. You know, it's where we reuse an item because it has that vintage look. You know, primitives are very good, advertising, furniture, and home decor. But if you're just now joining us, we're talking about the questions and answers that you want to know. You're listening to iAntique with Bruce, and we're brought to you by the Brass Armadillo and iAntique.com. If you'd like to become a dealer at the Brass Armadillo, just mention that you heard it here on the show, and I'm going to give you a special rental incentive. So back to the questions. From Alex in Sedalia. He would like to know, where do you see the antique and collectible market going in the future? Well, I tell you what, the antique and the collectible market gives us a great value. They give us great quality within that great value, you know, and it's also a lot of fun, and it's an adventure. You know, I know of several people that have told me that that's why they do it, because of the fun and the adventure. You know, it's changed over the past 10 years, and it's going to continue to change. Some things that were popular 10 years ago are not necessarily as popular today, you know, and the customers are getting younger, but they still buy for the same basic three reasons. They either want to use it, or they want to invest in it, or they buy it because they remember it fondly. But if the people, you know, if you want to make money, and you got to offer good value, and offering that good value is going to be critical as we move forward into the future. And just remember, people always are going to want to connect with the past. You know, it's so important that we remember that and that we take care of that. Okay. From Joanne in Colorado Springs. I bet you didn't know we were global, but on iAntique, we are. Just what is a picker? Let's talk about being a picker. You know, and she wanted to know what it means to be a picker. Well, a picker is somebody, usually a dealer, who is out there on the hunt. And they've learned how to network. And they've gotten in and networked with different people, so they actually have buyers already on the hook. And that's a very valuable thing for a dealer to know how to do. Because if you can be a good picker, then you can have an item sold when you first find it. And quite often these pickers have a phone number, and when they find an item that they think they have a buyer for, they're making a phone call, finding out just how much that person's willing to go for the item. In today's society, they're sending them photos, and they're doing all types of things to make that a sale before they ever even put out any money. And, you know, a good dealer always wants to be a picker at the same time, because it's their way of having another venue for being able to sell their merchandise. And I always advise my dealers, you should be in every type of market. You should be in eBay. You should be in an antique and collectibles mall. You should attend some of these other roadside markets from time to time. And most importantly, I tell them, learn how to be a good picker. Find the things that you have interest in and get good at them. And then when you do, you can increase your value geometrically. I see all the time, and I hear all the time of a customer who comes into the Brass Armadillo, and they say to me, you know, hey, do you have any of such and such? Or they're going to come to the counter with an item, and I just hear the story. It says, you know, I'm going to give you $100 for this, but I got somebody who's willing to give me $300 just as soon as I walk out the door. And that's a great place to be in, because from that, you can make your money grow. But you're listening to iAntique with Bruce, and our show today is the questions and answers that you want to know. We're brought to you by the Brass Armadillo Antique Mall and iAntique.com. That's iAntique.com. You can also follow us on Facebook at Kansas City Brass Armadillo. Don't forget, coming up in a few short weeks is our bi-monthly free appraisal seminar. It's January 24th, and anybody can bring in up to 2 items and have them appraised for free. Next week's show is going to be all types of currency with John. We're going to dig into several of the questions that you have about all types of currency. But when we come back, we're going to talk some more about the questions and answers that you want to know.
Are you starting your day with a KCMO Morning Show and Greg Knapp?
Let me tell you some of the things I'm for. I'm for peace on the plaza. I'm for a zoo you can go to without getting shot at. There's a lot of things I'm for, Mayor Sly James. What I'm not for is you trying to tell me the only way Kansas City can be a big-time city is if we're forced to put in a streetcar that we don't want.
Greg Knapp, mornings 5 till 9 on KCMO Talk Radio 710 and 103.7 FM. Kansas City, now you're talking. KCMO Talk Radio 710 and 103.7 FM.
When you listen to your favorite station, you hear the biggest and best songs in the world free. Now we go with you. Download the free iHeartRadio app where the music is always curated from the best in the business. iHeartRadio.com.
Attention antique shoppers, if you're looking for the ultimate antique adventure, you will find it at the Brass Armadillo Antique Mall, just off I-70 between exits 21 and 24 in Grain Valley. We are the perfect place to stroll aisle after aisle of fine antiques and collectibles. Whether it's our fine antiques, vintage, or retro items, we have them all. Antiques are what we know at the Brass Armadillo. With hundreds of antique dealers and millions of items, it is a shopper's paradise. So come on out to the Brass Armadillo Antique Mall, just off I-70 between exits 21 and 24 in Grain Valley. We're open 9 to 9 every day. Come see what everybody's talking about.
That's the word. We got everybody talking. Antiques are all we know. We got everybody talking. Everybody's talking about the Brass Armadillo. Brass Armadillo. Everybody's talking.
There's nothing quite as delicious as top-quality beef. That's why Hen House offers only the best. USDA Choice Certified Hereford beef. This is the beef that made Kansas City famous. Selected for its exceptional flavor and juiciness. Cut fresh daily by professional butchers. Available exclusively at Hen House. Visit henhouse.com or follow us on Facebook to see what's in season. And head to your nearest Hen House today. Hen House, your market. 91 delicious years.
I had heard some of my friends had people I'd known had the surgery. And then, believe it or not, driving to work, I heard it on the radio, and I thought I'd look into it.
Minimally Invasive Surgery Hospital.
The very professional, very hands-on. The doctors came and gave seminars and lectures and stressed the point, and everything was above board.
Make 2015 your healthiest, happiest, and most confident year yet.
It's definitely a lifestyle change, but all for the positive. Gone down 4 pant sizes. People I haven't seen in a couple months, like, what has happened to you? You're looking awesome.
Attend a free weight loss seminar and learn how to be you again.
And I had to change. Boy, this was it.
Minimally Invasive Surgery Hospital.
Yeah, it all pays off.
Call 913-322-7401 or lapluz.com.
You're invited to Cruise Holidays of Kansas City's biggest and best vacation sale of the year, the Vacation Extravaganza, next Saturday, January 10th. Whether you like all-inclusive vacations, ocean cruises, or river cruises, you can find what options you have. You can listen to seminars from 12 of the top vacation vendors in the world. You can hear seminars about ocean cruises from companies like Celebrity Cruises, Royal Caribbean, Princess Cruises, and Holland America Line. Or land tour possibilities from Europe Express, specializing in customized Europe tours. Globus family of brands including Avalon Waterways, river cruise options from Uniworld, Viking, and Ama Waterways. And you must not forget the all-inclusive resorts such as Charisma Resorts, Marival Residences, Fiesta Americana, and Live Aqua. Come check out the great deals, special pricing, and values you won't find anywhere else. Only at the Vacation Extravaganza, next Saturday, January 10th. Now is the best time to plan your next vacation. RSVP today by calling Cruise Holidays of Kansas City at 816-505-1500 or online online at chkc.travel.
Don't let an auto wreck your day. Let top-rated Precision Collision restore your car's vitality. Their experience in all car types. Locations in Glasgow and Pleasant Valley. Call 816-781-9630. Online at precisioncollisionkc.com.
KCMO. We don't just give you a bunch of static. We give you an outlet. KCMO Talk Radio 710. Now on FM at 103.7.
Welcome back. You're listening to iAntique with Bruce, and I'm your host, Bruce Limecooler. We come to you every Saturday from 6 to 7 a.m. on KCMO Talk Radio 710 and on FM 103.7. Our show today comes from all the questions that you've sent to me. In fact, I get hundreds on iAntique.com and different venues. And I wanted to develop some answers and give them to you guys. So I just wanted to encourage you, if you have anything after hearing this show or any future shows, feel free to send me a question. But coming up next week, we're going to be talking about all types of currency. My guest will be John Benedetti. But when we left off, we were talking about the questions and answers that you want to know. George from Anchorage, Alaska. Believe it, we get all the way up to Anchorage, Alaska. He's actually a member of iAntique.com, and he's a dealer in a mall up there. And he wants to know if dealers do they have to know everything about all the items that they have in their stock? My answer to him was basically no. It's really important that, as we explained last week, that you become an active member in your mall. You network. You learn the people that are there and maybe learn some of their strengths. And I tell dealers all the time, if it interests you, research it. Get good at that topic. Get good at that item. And then you can use your knowledge to share with somebody else. And when you share with somebody else, then you can get from them. A good example is dolls. I don't collect dolls. I don't particularly find dolls interesting to me, but I know a lot of people who do. So if I had a doll that I wanted to sell, I definitely know who I can go ask, which is, part of the reasons why our appraisal seminars are so popular, because the people have vast knowledge and I have multiple people who help me to do the appraisals, and they're knowledgeable in all different types of areas. Okay, let's move on to our next question. Max in Olathe, Kansas, wants to know, where can dealers find their merchandise that they want to sell? I said, man, that is huge. The answer for that is everywhere. There's always something there. If it's something you've done, learned to be better on, then you can find the great deals. In some shows back, we had a gentleman here who was very knowledgeable about silver, sterling silver, and he made good points. He says, I've done a lot of research, so I know how I can find a good deal in that. A moment ago, I mentioned dolls. Maybe somebody else can find a really good deal, a doll that they get for $20, $50, whatever, and I've sold dolls for $700, $1,200 in the past. So there's a lot of opportunity. So garage sales, estate sales, your own attic, family members. Quite often, there's a lot of people in your family who just have something that they don't really know what it's worth, but, maybe you can get a percentage as a dealer if you sell that item for them. But most importantly, you just need to learn as you go. Keep watching for lost treasures, because there's treasures out there everywhere. Okay, Angie in Independence wanted to know if it's important for a dealer to take advantage of the different seasons. I said, yes, Angie. I said, in fact, go back and watch our show on holiday-themed collectibles. It's huge. When, if you follow what's going on in some of the other department stores, you can see when they change for a holiday that's coming up and how important it is to them. Christmas, of course, is one of the most well-known, but the stores are already changing to Christmas decor a month or months in advance. So, yes, it's very important to take advantage of them. People like, if you're dealing in glass, they want different color of glass for different time of year. Right now, it's green and red, but in just another month, it'll be red and white milk glass because of Valentine's Day. And if you're looking for that gift for somebody, just a vase or something like that, the colored glassware following the different themes of the holiday that's to come is important. And she also wanted to know, do different types of things sell at different times of the year? And of course, my answer was yes to that as well, because It's just like I said about the glassware. It also has to do with if it's Halloween, which is one of the next biggest ones. If you get that Halloween merchandise in there a month or a month and a half in advance, it's going to start selling because people want to buy it for the decor within their home. Well, if you're just now joining us, we're talking about the questions and answers that you want to know. You're listening to iAntique with Bruce, and we're brought to you by the Brass Armadillo and iAntique.com. Hey, if you'd like to become a dealer at the Brass Armadillo, just mention that you heard it here on the show, and I'm going to give you a special rental incentive. Back to our questions. Mark from Columbia, Missouri wants to know if a dealer is not having the type of sales that they want, what are their options for making it better? Well, I think you've probably heard me say in some previous shows that my cousin taught me this phrase. It's called optimizing your face time. And in the antique business, if you're in a mall setting and you have a booth or even a showcase, your face time is the amount of time it takes somebody to casually walk past your space. So your main competition is the booths right around you and yourself. So if your booth isn't producing the way you want it to do, or your showcase, or anything, my first advice to you is to change it around. If you have to, maybe you've got the wrong kind of themed items in there for the time frame of the year it is. Take them out. Put something different in there. You should have enough inventory where you could change your entire space out and make it look different. You know, I've mentioned before that at the Brass Armadillo, our customer base is a huge repeat customer base. And they come through there very frequently. If a booth doesn't change in its appearance, it's going to become stale. They're going to say, I saw that last time. I didn't find anything I wanted, so I'm going to move on. I told them to evolve. You need to learn from your mistakes. If you have an item in there that's not selling, and it's not selling, and it's not selling, and you've took it out and you've brought it back, try marking it down. And if you want to get really creative, give it a different face. Maybe even raise the price, and you'd be surprised how well that works. I have dealers who come in to me and tell me all the time that say, you know, I've had that piece for a year and it's gone. I don't know why. The right person came by and had to have it. Most importantly, learn to love your space, not your merchandise. You have to love your space enough so that when you stand there, you're happy with it. You're looking at it and you go, I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with the way it looks. But if you're too in love with your particular merchandise, quite often you're going to price it too high. And when you do that, you run the risk of somebody not loving it as much as you, therefore not willing to pay the price for it. Also, I say walk the aisle. Do your own FaceTime. Go by it and see what interests you. Are you more interested by the booth across the way or something further down the row? Make sure that you take full advantage of that if something in your booth's not interesting. Also, in our mall, people either walk from one side of the building or the other. They usually start on one side or the other. And when they do, they'll go by your booth in a different way. And our booths are set up in a U shape. And I tell them all the time that using that U shape, your two end walls are your action walls. They should be your quickest, most holiday themed spaces, or they should be your brightest colors. They should really, really pop. And they should draw your attention into your space. Don't make your space cluttered. If a lady with a pocketbook or a family can't all fit into your booth space to walk through it, then they're not going to stop or stay very long. And when that happens, you lose the opportunity to have a sale. So it's really all about you. Fall in love with your space, not your merchandise. Well, you're listening to iAntique with Bruce, and we're brought to you by the Brass Armadillo and iAntique.com. Hey, coming up in a few short weeks, the Brass Armadillo is going to be hosting our bi-monthly free appraisal seminar. It's on January 24th, and it's where anybody can bring in up to 2 items and get them appraised for free. After the break, we're going to talk more about the questions and answers that you want to know. Remember, it doesn't make any difference what you collect or what aspect of the antique business you are in. You're going to learn something here today and every Saturday. We'd love to invite you to stop by our store located just off of I-70 between exits 21 and 24. I'd really like to see you there. So if you have a question, come on by and share it with me, and I'll be more than happy to answer it for you.
KCMO, Kansas City's home of Mark Levin. Mark Levin.
So the bigger problem or the bigger issue is the welfare state. It's the welfare state, whether we're talking about longtime American citizens, Hispanics, Asians, blacks, whites, everything in between. It's the welfare state that's killing the Republican Party, just as it's killing the nation.
A great one. Weekdays 5 to 8 on KCMO Talk Radio 710 and 103.7 FM.
Is the health of your employees and customers on your mind? Would you do something that could benefit them for free if you could? Yes? Kansas City's Health and Wellmobile is a mobile health fair that can be scheduled for free at your business. That's right, a free health fair at your business. You can schedule Kansas City's Health and Wellmobile by calling 913-514-3062. That's 913-514-3062. Or visit healthwellmobile.com. That's healthwellmobile.com. Presented by Diagnostic
TrueCar is on the search for AirAsia 8501 is in its sixth day. The airline has grounded flights between Singapore and Surabaya, Indonesia. Transport Ministry officials are saying that a permit to fly the route expired. An investigation is underway. CBS Aviation Transportation Safety Analyst Mark Rosenkirk.
According to a statement just released by AirAsia, they do have the authority from Singapore to fly the route that they were on.
132 people remain unaccounted for.
By last night, they'd recovered 30 bodies. About 12 of them have been recovered by the USS Sampson, an American destroyer that's out there. And the Sampson has been joined by the USS Fort Worth, a different kind of ship which can go into very shallow waters.
CBS's Alan Pizzi, Navy spokesman Lieutenant Commander Greg Adams.
Between the two ships, there are 3 Seahawk helicopters.
Sonar has detected 4 large objects on the floor of the Java Sea. CBS News Update, I'm Gary Nunn.
The KCMO forecast from KCTV5.
Well, as we head through tonight, patchy rain, at times mixed with a little sleet or freezing rain in spots. Roads mainly wet middle morning with a temperature near 32, although there could be a couple icy spots in the northwest part of the area. Drizzle and clouds during the day with a high of 36, followed by an inch or two some snow into the evening. I'm KCTV5 Chief Meteorologist Chris
Attention,
Suchan.
antique shoppers, if you're looking for the ultimate antique adventure, you will find it at the Brass Armadillo Antique Mall, just off I-70, between exits 21 and 24 in Grain Valley. We are the perfect place to stroll aisle after aisle of fine antiques and collectibles. Whether it's our fine antiques, vintage, or retro items, we have them all. Antiques are what we know at the Brass Armadillo. With hundreds of antique dealers and millions of items, it is a shopper's paradise. So come on out to the Brass Armadillo Antique Mall, just off I-70 between exits 21 and 24 in Grain Valley. We're open 9 to 9 every day. Come see what everybody's talking about.
That's the word. We got everybody talking. Antiques are all we know. We got everybody talking. Everybody's talking about the Brass Armadillo. Brass Armadillo. Everybody's talking.
Want to know the secret to having enough money in retirement? Hi, Rick Edelman here. A secure retirement starts with figuring out how much you'll need. Until you know that, you really have no idea how much you should be saving or where to invest. It's really quite simple. Well, for me and my colleagues anyway, because we're financial planners. So let us do the math for you. We'll consider your age and life expectancy, your spouse's too, and help you make the right assumptions about your future spending needs, inflation rates, tax rates, and investment rates of return. We'll factor in outside income sources like pensions, social securities, and inheritance, and also your attitude about leaving money to your kids and grandkids. It's your retirement, so make sure yours is what you want it to be. Let us help you at Edelman Financial Services, just like we've helped thousands of people just like you over the past 25 years. Call us at 888-PLAN-RICK or visit us at rickedelman.com. That's ricedelman.com.
Advisory services offered through Edelman Financial Services, LLC. Securities offered through Sanders Morris Harris, Inc., an affiliated broker-dealer. Member FINRA, SIPC.
Ditch the oven mitts. Forget dish duty. SweetJack.com just nabbed $50 gift cards to Ryan's, Old Country Buffet, and all your favorite buffet restaurants for just $30. Dig into a just like Mama made it home-style meal at over 300 nationwide locations. Don't wait. Tap into SweetJack.com on your phone or computer right now for 40% off your local Ryan's and Old Country Buffet restaurants.
Sweet Jack, now that's a real sweet deal.
KCMO. We don't just give you a bunch of static. we give you an outlet. KCMO Talk Radio 710. Now on FM at 103.7.
KCMO, Kansas City.
KCMO. We don't feed you bull, but we take the issues by the horns. KCMO Talk Radio 710. Now on FM at 103.7.
Welcome back. You're listening to iAntique with Bruce, and I'm your host, Bruce Limecooler. Hey, the title of our show today is The Questions and Answers That You Want to Know. Next week, we're going to do a whole show on all types of currency. My guest is going to be John Benedetti, and he's a very interesting young man. But don't forget, we come to you every Saturday from 6 to 7 a.m. on KCMO Talk Radio 710 and on FM 103.7. And we're brought to you by the Brass Armadillo and iAntique.com. Well, we were talking about Mark in Columbia, and he sent me back a second question after I discussed with him his booth. And Mark also wanted to know, is a mall setting, say, better than just selling out of your garage? And I get that because, you know, a lot of people say, you know, it doesn't cost me anything to sell out of my garage. I said, well, you know, you're really wrong there because it costs you quite a lot. It costs you in time, and there's no way you're going to be able to put the kind of money into advertising that a mall setting is going to do for you to draw in the people to buy your merchandise. So you end up selling for less, or you're just not going to be able to command the kind of value that you can in a mall setting. You know, if you were going to sell your car, you're not going to just park your car in your backyard or in your garage and open the door with a for sale sign on the back of it. It's just not going to have the same opportunity to sell. You're going to want to get it out there in front of people. You're going to park it out on the street, or you're going to take it to the store with the signs in it, because then more people are going to get to see it. You know, if you did all your school at home, there are home schools, but the school system is set up as it is to give you more advantage by being in a larger school community. You know, you need to take advantage of all ways to sell. You know, don't forget the networking. But the mall setting is definitely an opportunity for you because you can't afford what they give you for what you have to pay. I mean, between utility bills and all of the things, the lighting and the staffing and you have a minimal amount of investment of your time, and it's out there for sale. In our case, 7 days a week, 364 days a year from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Okay, let's move on. Pam in Grain Valley wants to know, should a dealer expect that a customer wants a good deal? You know, how can a customer make sure that they're getting the best deal of something, you know, that they want to buy? She was giving me a two-part question there. I told her, as a dealer, yes, a customer should expect to get a good deal. I said, you wanted a good deal when you got it. You need to expect that they're going to want a good deal as well. So you need to use it, you know, as a buying tool. You know, she said, how can a customer make sure that they're getting a best deal for something that they want to buy? Well, that comes from you, the dealer. If you set up and you buy well, then you can sell well. And then when you can turn it over quickly, you're going to benefit all the way around. Now, Pam's husband, wrote me back and asked, when does a dealer make their money then, and why, if I've got to give a deal on everything? I said, okay, I get that. But dealers need to know this. They make their money when they buy the item, not when they sell the item. And quite often they get wrapped up in, you know, I'm going to only get that cash when I get the cash back. No, you need to buy well. You need to buy smart. You know, I tell people who call me all the time on the phone and say, hey, I have this item and I want to sell it. How can you sell it for me? I said, well, I get, you know, you got to decide who you want to sell it to. Do you want to sell it to a dealer, or do you want to sell it to an end line collector, somebody who's going to have it to own it? And, well, quite often they want to sell it to a dealer because the dealer's going to buy it quickly. But a dealer's not going to pay as much for it because they have the costs that are incurred that go along with that. So a dealer's going to pay between 10 and 25% of what they're going to retail it for, or I should say of what it may book for or what they think it's worth. And then they're going to turn around and sell it for between 60 and 80% of what it's worth. And they're not taking advantage of you when they do that, because when they're doing that, they have costs. They have rent, they have mall commission, they have cleanup, they have items that maybe don't sell for a long time, so they have to store them and hold on to them. So there's a lot that goes along with that. But if you, the seller, can remember those things. And you, the buyer, as in Jeff's husband, I think it was a real awakening for him to understand that, he needed to buy better. Because when a dealer pays too much for an item, sure, they got a big booth space and they put it in there, but it's taken up real estate. And at that point, it's costing you money. Well, if you're just now joining us, we're talking about the questions and answers that you want to know. Hey, if you'd like to become a dealer at the Brass Armadillo Antique Mall, just tell me that you heard it here on the show, and I'm going to give you a special rental incentive. Well, let's see here. Marcia, dealer at the Brass Armadillo, Kansas City, wanted to know if a dealer is going to go to a show, is it a good idea for them to empty out their booth space, and take all that stuff to the show so they can bring back different items? And, the questions here is a little bit redundant, as I explained to her. When you have followers who are customers and you take everything out of your space, you're going to find that they're going to quit coming back to your space. So you're basically telling them, hey, we're closed. And that's not what you want. That's not the message you want to send. And if the only inventory that you have is the inventory that you have in that booth space, then you're not working your plan. You got a plan to succeed and you got to work your plan. So let's move on to the next question. The next question is, it's one I get a lot. It comes from Roxanne and about 100 other people that have sent me this question. They all want to know what's hot in today's market. And I'll tell you, everything's hot. But I find that repurposed items, project pieces, as I explained earlier, primitives, glassware, advertising, paper collectibles, they're all hot. But you got to be able to offer them at a good value. And they wanted to know if the item itself influences what is hot or what is not, or does the customer drive what is most popular? Well, the customers do drive it, but you have a lot of control over that. I call it, as I've said before, selling the sizzle with the steak. Make sure you're giving them the information about the item. Make sure you're displaying it appropriately. Make sure you have that item out there for somebody to fall in love with the way you liked it at one time. So I think that it's very interesting that you have control over that. I tell people all the time that, and I say this in as nice a way as I can, that usually if you're not doing well or if you're not thinking you have the right items, then you need to reassess how you're doing it. Am I not giving it enough time? Am I not keeping it clean and organized? Am I not offering a good value? The rule is a variety of merchandise and a variety of pricing. I tell people all the time, if 5 people walk down that row, do you want to appeal to one of them or all 5 of them? Well, of course, you want to appeal to all 5 of them, because when you appeal to all 5 of them, you stand the opportunity to have 5 purchases instead of 1 or none. And, that makes a big difference to people when they're trying to do this as a business and make money at it. Well, let's move on. Jane in Warsaw sent me a question about me. She wanted to know, Bruce, what do you personally collect? Well, I collect everything that I find interesting. In fact, I've told you this before. My wife often tells me I'm going to have to get a part-time job to pay for my spending habits at the Brass Armadillo. But I like things like ephemera, as I've told you before, and ephemera are paper collectibles, anything from photographs to books to magazines to cardboard advertising, boxes like old candy boxes, any type of thing like that is considered ephemera. I also like the unique, the strange, the unusual. They're a great item to look for, and they always hold their value. I like glassware, unique glassware and brightly colored glassware, because my wife and I use it at Christmas time. We'll have colored glass that we use when we do a table display. I also like to have different types of glassware for gifts. I always look for the unique. I always look for a mark, and I'm always looking for a good value. I like the mourning jewelry, real mourning jewelry, not jewelry that came about after, but the real mourning jewelry that's made from jet. It's rare, it's hard to find, very unique, and has a great value holding potential. I really like vintage toys. I like old magazines from World War II. In fact, I bought a whole set from a magazine company that were in a hardbound book all about World War II. And I'm telling you, to put those together and to flip through them are extremely interesting and give you all types of knowledge about what went on. I also bought a big newspapers. Once they did a newspaper, they put them in a big hardbound back book. And I bought my dad one for his birthday, and he was born in 1940. And he just loves flipping through that book. And the book is about 3.5 feet tall by 2.5 feet wide and about 2 inches thick. And they're broke down on months. And it's got the whole month's worth of newspapers from that area in it. And he just loves flipping through it and seeing what they were worth in his day, what they sold for at JCPenney's or anywhere else, or just finding out what was going on in society at that time. And the newspaper was a great way to expose that venue. I'm going to tell you another little story about that in just a moment. But remember, here's what we can do for you. If you love antiques and you love to look for antiques, put that together and you have the start of a fun and exciting business. The Brass Armadillo can help with just that. We'll be able to take care of all your business details, and you only need to stop in and select your booth or showcase to get started. We make it very simple. You can start a business for less than $100 per month. And when we return, we're going to hear some more about the questions and answers that you want to know. Don't forget, we're sponsored by the Brass Armadillo and iAntique.com. And coming up next week is all types of currency.
KCMO. Can't get enough talk radio? Get KCMO online at KCMOTalkRadio.com. Like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at KCMO Talk Radio. Stay connected to your favorite personalities and get updates 24/7. KCMO 710. And now on FM at 103.7. Kansas City's talk station. AM, FM, and online at KCMOTalkRadio.com.
Attention antique shoppers, if you're looking for the ultimate antique adventure, you will find it at the Brass Armadillo Antique Mall, just off I-70, between exits 21 and 24 in Grain Valley. We are the perfect place to stroll aisle after aisle of fine antiques and collectibles. Whether it's our fine antiques, vintage, or retro items, we have them all. Antiques are what we know at the Brass Armadillo. With hundreds of antique dealers and millions of items, it is a shopper's paradise. So come on out to the Brass Armadillo Antique Mall, just off I-70 between exits 21 and 24 in Grain Valley. We're open 9 to 9 every day. Come see what everybody's talking about.
That's the word. We got everybody talking. Antiques are all we know. We got everybody talking. Everybody's talking about the Brass Armadillo. Brass Armadillo. Everybody's talking.
Want to know the secret to having enough money in retirement? Hi, Rick Edelman here. A secure retirement starts with figuring out how much you'll need. Until you know that, you really have no idea how much you should be saving or where to invest. It's really quite simple. Well, for me and my colleagues anyway, because we're financial planners. So let us do the math for you. We'll consider your age and life expectancy, your spouse's too, and help you make the right assumptions about your future spending needs, inflation rates, tax rates, and investment rates of return. We'll factor in outside income sources like pensions, Social Securities, and inheritance, and also your attitude about leaving money to your kids and grandkids. It's your retirement, so make sure yours is what you want it to be. Let us help you at Edelman Financial Services, just like we've helped thousands of people just like you over the past 25 years. Call us at 888-PLAN-RICK or visit us at rickedelman.com. That's ricedelman.com.
Advisory services offered through Edelman Financial Services, LLC. Securities offered through Sanders Morris Harris, Inc., an affiliated broker-dealer. Member FINRA, SIPC.
The Diagnostic Imaging Center's Health and Wellmobile, in participation with Sunfresh Grocery, Wynn's Wellness Innovation and Nursing Services, and CareWorks, brings health and wellness directly to you. Free and low-cost health screens, scans, and health education information are provided daily in communities all around Kansas City.
This week, find us at the Commitment Day 5K in Overland Park. Learn your health age, get fit in 15 minutes, find out your risk for diabetes and heart disease, or visit our Healthy Breast, Healthy Body exhibit.
Visit us online at healthwellmobile.com. That's healthwellmobile.com.
Touchdown, Kansas City! You've heard that before. You heard it on the radio. Only the radio. Hi, I'm Mitch Holters, telling you that if you want your customers to remember your business in a similar way, go to cumulusradio.com to learn how. You're listening right now, and so are your customers. In fact, this Cumulus Media radio station has enough potential customers listening to fill Arrowhead Stadium many times over. Go to cumulusradio.com today and build your business. Change your business with radio.
TrueCar is changing car buying forever. Hi, it's Leah. TrueCar helps car buyers get rid of the fear that they might overpay. Just in the first 6 months of this year, over 275,000 cars were sold by the TrueCar Certified Dealer Network. And TrueCar users save an average of $3,221 off MSRP. When you're ready to buy a car, just follow 3 easy steps. First, go to TrueCar.com and find out what others paid for the car you want. Then, register to see upfront pricing information and lock in your savings. Third step, simple. Just print out your savings certificate and take it to the TrueCar Certified Dealer for a better, hassle-free car buying experience. Some features not available in all states. To see how much you can save on the car you want, simply download the TrueCar mobile app or visit TrueCar.com today. That's TrueCar.com.
KCMO, Serious Times, time for serious talk. KCMO Talk Radio 710, now on FM at 103.7.
Welcome back. You're listening to iAntique with Bruce, and I'm your host, Bruce Limecooler. My guest today, hey, it's just me, all me. We're talking about the questions and answers that you want to know. I have hundreds of questions, and I can only pick a very few to do one of these types of shows. But I want to keep doing them in the future. Send me any question you come up with for antiques and collectibles, values, anything. I'm more than happy to go through them, answer you, and then maybe use one of your questions in a future show. And so I just want to remind you that coming up in a few weeks, we're going to be doing our free appraisal seminar at the Brass Armadillo. It's January 24th. I hope to see you there. When Jane in Warsaw sent me that question about what I collect, I could go on for hours, and I don't intend to, but after our conversation, she sent me back. She wanted to know why I find those things collectible. I'll tell you, really, I collect more than anything for the value that I get from it. Of course, I love the interestingness of the items that I select. But if it's a good value and I think it's going to retain its value, I do a lot of speculating on that, and I hold on to these items. Like I said, my wife said we might have to move someday because I have too many things stored away that I'm just going to sell again someday, maybe, if ever. Or my daughter might have to. But let's move on. Paul from Blue Springs wants to know, how can I figure out what's trending in the market? I told him that's a simple answer. You need to be abreast of what's going on. First of all, we've talked about networking within your store itself, but you should network no matter where you go. If you go to an estate sale or an auction, network, talk to people, find out what's there, what they're doing in their business, and ask all kinds of questions. That's the preliminary groundwork for being a picker, but it also sets you up with a network of people who you can ask future questions of. In other than that, look at magazines, look at TV shows like Storage Wars. They motivate people to buy things. Antique Roadshow. A good example, and I've used this before, is Martha Stewart. She used to trend anything she had on her show that day. Later on that afternoon, somebody was calling me to see if we had one in stock so they could buy it. A good example is Fire King Red Dot mixing bowl sets. You know, she would feature them on her show. Jadeite. I mean, I have an interesting story about that and Fire King and everything that goes along with it, but really, you just have to stay abreast and talk to people. Carolyn from Shawnee wanted to know if I had any advice on how to make money with a minimal investment. Hey, I'm telling you, there's a lot of opportunities out there where you do not have to spend a lot of money and you can make money. As long as you're doing all the other things that I shared with you, you can take something as simple as postcards. We have a postcard club that meets at the Brass Armadillo about 4 times a year. But I've learned from them and many other people that if you just learn a little, you have to learn the item that you want to make the minimal investment on, and then you have to have your eye open at all times. But you can find postcards very inexpensively. Sometimes you can get a shoebox full at a sale for a couple of dollars. And many of those cards, if you learn how to market them and if you learn how to sell them, can bring $5, $10, $15, $25 each or more. A good example, a Christmas postcard with a Santa Claus in a red suit, smoking a pipe, spanking a child. I mean, that's one they actually did. And it's worth quite a lot. I don't have the figures here in front of me, so I don't want to quote a figure, but I know that it's one that's highly sought after. So postcards are a good example, but there's other things. Anything that you can pick up inexpensively that you know can have a value higher than it is, and you'll hone your eye into that, that makes all the difference in the world. Fred, a dealer at the Brass Armadillo in Colorado, sent me a question, and he wanted to know, what kinds of things do young people like to collect? Well, I tell you, they like to collect what they know. They like to collect, obviously, things like music and TV and movies motivate young people a lot. But I tell you, in my business and my job, I've learned that you get to feeling old really quick. I'll hire an 18-year-old to come to work for me, and within 2 years, they're like, man, people are collecting that. And I used to play with it when I was young, or I used to have it when I was young. Young people like to collect what they remember, what they have, what they had. With my wife, she's a little bit older, not much. Love you, honey. But she likes Holly Hobby, and she likes strawberry shortcake and those kinds of things, things she remembers from when she was younger. My daughter, who is a young lady of 21, she likes Barbies, or she likes furniture because she's starting to furnish her own apartment, her own house. So you have to just basically stay in the know of what's happening in people's lives. People come to the antique malls to find things to expound upon that. Fred also asked, if I want to collect something that will be popular in the future, what kind of items should I collect? You know what? You should collect everything that you can get a good value on and that you can offer at a good value, because everything is cyclical and it will come back. Same things aren't necessarily as popular today or sell for as much today, but, ephemera. I like ephemera. It's always going to be a hot collectible. And I'm telling you, I have just about another 50 questions here, and I'm not going to get to all of them, but we're going to try to finish up with one. Margie asked a very interesting question. I should say several questions, but first she wanted to know if eBay is a good tool for a collector or a seller, and has eBay hurt or helped dealers or customers in the antique malls? I'm going to answer that very quickly. eBay only made the pie larger. At one time, we all lived in a little compartment thinking that eBay, there's only one of these in the world. eBay made the pie larger by saying, there's not only one in the world. But at the same time, it made it more competitive. And it also increased the buying market, because when eBay was in its initial prime, it really started selling things to Japan and China and everywhere else. So, it was just huge. But today, it's a much better buying tool than it is a selling tool. And it's also great for information if you just want to find out information. Well, next week's show is going to be on the money of all types of areas. And you're listening to iAntique with Bruce. And we're sponsored by the Brass Armadillo and iAntique.com. Remember, it doesn't make any difference what you collect or what aspect of the antique business you're in. You're going to learn something here today and every Saturday. Love to invite you to stop by our store located just off of I-70 between exits 21 and 24. I would really like to see you there. And if you're thinking about antiques as a business, the Brass Armadillo is the perfect outlet. And I, for one, would love to make you a part of our family. Remember, new dealers are like oxygen. They breathe life into the industry, and there's still plenty of treasures out there. Could you be the one who finds the next hot item?
Attention antique shoppers, if you're looking for the ultimate antique adventure, you will find it at the Brass Armadillo Antique Mall, just off I-70 between exits 21 and 24 in Grain Valley. We are the perfect place to stroll aisle after aisle of fine antiques and collectibles. Whether it's our fine antiques, vintage, or retro items, we have them all. Antiques are what we know at the Brass Armadillo. With hundreds of antique dealers and millions of items, it is a shopper's paradise. So come on out to the Brass Armadillo Antique Mall, just off I-70 between exits 21 and 24 in Grain Valley. We're open 9 to 9 every day. Come see what everybody's talking about.
That's the word. We got everybody talking. Antiques are all we know. We got everybody talking. Everybody's talking about the Brass